ice is dropped for a new round of SDH and SDH AM. John here, you there. Thanks for dropping by on a Tuesday. And this Tuesday, you remember last week when I said that we wanted to thank everybody for the high school coverage, and we wanted to thank our friends at Kaiser Permanente for sponsoring Soccer is in Session. We're still sessioning. So here's the deal. We're catching up with coaches in the morning show in hour number 1. And then a little after 12, we're going to catch up with 2 more. We're going to catch up with Johnson, Gainesville, and Lovett with Coach Zamora and Coach Kearns. So just when you thought you were done with high school soccer coverage, you're not. So Tuesday Thoughts, hour number 1 is going to be looking at a lot of the champions in the GHSA. We catch up at Blessed Trinity. We catch up at Drew Charter. And we catch up at Roswell, where Roswell ran the table in girls 5A. So we'll catch up with those coaches, Jackson, Abernethy, and Deasing. And then at 10 o'clock, we get to dive into our WPSL coverage, where we catch up with associate head coach for Chattanooga FC's women's team, Marin Butler. That's going to come up at 10 o'clock. Then after that, we will get you caught up on everything that has happened in MLS Next Pro last night. Atlanta United 2. Had their home game away from home up at the Sportsplex at Matthews. It was a 90-minute draw with Crown Legacy before they went to PKs. Crown Legacy gets the extra point in PKs, and we'll go over that. We will go over the news in Major League Soccer from the weekend, and also we have the AM news. And as you saw in the game notes, the Premier League decided to leave somebody a note on the way out the door. So it's like they're kicking somebody out. They kick them in the pants. Doors open, front yard's right there. So the Premier League decides they're going to launch their boot into somebody's butt with the door open, and with the door open with this particular team. Hey, here's a note to go with you. And so there's that. We'll get into that and anything else on your mind that's a carryover from what went down yesterday and on the weekend. And so that's the rundown for today once again. So we're going in session in hour number 1. Hour number 2, Chattanooga FC women. Then we'll go into MLS Next Pro. We'll go into MLS. And we'll go into the AM news to get you rolling. So that is today. Tomorrow, standard fare with the guests and such. Tyler Pilgrim from Scarves and Spikes joining us at 9:15. Dylan Butler joining us at 10 o'clock. Don't forget, tomorrow it is the first chance that we have to see everybody at the Moxie this year. So we're going to be at Moxie Midtown, 7 o'clock start. The Hoff and DJEU are going to be there, and we're hoping that you can too. So that'll be coming up there tomorrow night, 7 o'clock start at Moxie Midtown. Thursday, we catch up with our friends at Decatur FC. Then after that, Laurel Failer drops in for our Oppo research to let you know what's going on with Cincinnati. Laurel Failer from Queen City Press. And full disclosure, we subscribe to Queen City Press so we can keep up to date with everything going on up there at FC Cincinnati. So Laurel Failer will join us at 9:20. Then the Power Hour in hour number 2 with Nino and Nico. And then we'll get ready for Friday. And I think we're going to be catching up with the ownership group at Chattanooga FC because of some really cool news that came out a couple of weeks ago, and we couldn't let it go by. So it's going to be like 2 different times this week that we're catching up with Chattanooga FC on a couple of different topics. One because the WPSL season is starting, and one because there's something really cool that's happening as a part of their growth pyramid. So we're going to catch up with that. So that's the week. Today, hour number 1 is in session. Hour number 2, Chattanooga FC women. Marin Butler, the associate head coach, is dropping by. Then we're going to catch up on all of the news, MLS Next Pro, MLS from the weekend, and the news for the morning. We'll catch up with that in hour number 2. Soccer is in session. Playoff Daily post game is going to be at noon or so, a little after noon. We'll catch up with coaches Zamora and Kearns from Johnson, Gainesville, and Lovett. That'll be coming up at noon today. Or a little afternoon, like 12:05 or so. But yeah, we'll obviously set your notifications, and we'll have one more session of In Session brought to us by our friends at Kaiser Permanente. So before Coach Jackson joins us from Blessed Trinity, let's roll through the promos once again. You can be a Fanatico. You can go to, as you see in the open, you can become a Fanatico by group.chant.fan/soccerdownhere/join. you can group.chant.fan/soccer down here/join. And I hope I typed it correctly because it says need help and it blocks me at the end of my wording. So I actually did do it correctly. So there we go. All right. So you can become a Fanatico, group.chant.fan/soccer down here/join. $10 a year. And you get to be a Fanatico and get a whole bunch of really cool discounts at a bunch of different places. And here's how it shows up on our Chant app. You can be a part of the Fanaticos program there. Bunch of different discounts, bunch of restaurants, bunch of breweries, and even Chateau Arnal in Costa Rica, they give you a code. So $10 a year, you get to be a part of our Fanaticos membership right here, group.chant.fan/soccer down here/join. You can go to Olive and York and get our first ever SDH jersey. Kaiser Permanente on the front, Beyond Goals Mentoring on one side, Soccer for Good on the other side. Once again, net proceeds to our Soccer for Good campaign here in 2025. Also, you can continue to be a true degenerate when it comes to everything going on in the world of soccer at Fanatis, ftz.co/soccer down here. Let's see. CDO Nuestra Tele for the fans. CDO 1 and 2, by the way. All the BNs, which means you get everything from the Turkish Super League to AFCON to the Ligue 1 and Ecuador and all points in between. Our buddy Nino Torres and Gold TV, Teise, Nuestra Tele for the fans, all that stuff. You can get that at Fanatis, ftz.co/soccer down here. You can help out the Marshall Islands Soccer Project. They made their marker on the Kickstarter campaign. Doesn't mean that they still don't need help. You can buy all of their gear, like me, and you can go into the poorhouse, but you're helping out a fantastic cause. Also, remember, if you go to the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation, you buy the gear, you get the scarf from me. Everything else comes from England. You get the scarf from me. I have to send a scarf to Hong Kong, by the way. So that's the next go round for me, and we'll see what happens there. And we'll continue to get scarves sent out, and we're probably to the point to where we might have to end up getting more of them, which is always a good thing to help out our friends at the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation. You can get all of the SDH gear in and of itself. You can go to our store at soccerdownhere.net, and what you can do there is, once again, you get all of our new gear with new logo and such. You can get the mugs and the tchotchkes and everything. And Jason has retrofitted a couple of old teams here in the Atlanta area. You can get that gear as well. We're debating, trying to figure out how to get the retro stuff up like we had from round number 1, like you see me with the old NWO sweatshirt. That thing has stayed with me for about 7 years now. So solid stuff there. And you go to soccerdownhere.net and you go into the shop. You can get all of the SDH gear. So let's see. Fanatico. Let's see. Fanatis. Grady Baby Co. You can get the red and the black sweatshirt and t-shirt. Soccer is just better in Atlanta gold embossed across the front. SDH Network on one cuff and the Grady Baby logo on the other cuff. You can help out the proceeds there as a part of our Soccer for Good campaign. Help out middle school soccer programs that are attached to the Atlanta public school system. So APS middle school soccer, that is there with our friends at Grady Baby and Grady Baby Co. All right, officially back in session. We are in a no dilly, no dally zone, and we get to catch up with our friends, if I could get my upper plate to work, from Blessed Trinity. We find out what it's like to be a champion. Johnny Jackson joining us. Congratulations. Good morning. You are properly hydrated because I saw that in the green room.
Good morning, John. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
So has it sunk in? How does it feel? Have you gotten some naps in? Do you feel rested and ready for the 26th season preps? What's going on up there at BT?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. We actually have already started talking about 26 a little bit. So my assistant coaches and I, we just we're all in. So we've already started talking about who's coming back next year and how excited we are about some of the rising ninth graders and things like that. So yeah, it's just surreal. I don't really think it's fully sunk in yet. This has been a really magical year for us and really, really special year for us. I think in 21, we won the state championship, and I kind of felt like if we hadn't won that year, it might have been a failure because of how stacked that team was.
Yeah.
This year, there was a lot of really talented teams, and and not to say that our team wasn't talented as well, but it was just a really, really special year where we had to put a lot of work in, and a lot of things had to go right for us, and they did. So.
I hold the bracket in my hand, completed, with the U and the circle around it right here in the middle. Actually, since I'm left-handed, let me do this. Because it is circled and BT is circled in the center of the bracket, that means that you won. Coming all the way from the Region 6 championship, how difficult is it to be the top-ranked team in a lot of polls to make it from here in the upper right-hand part of the bracket? You mentioned how challenging a year it was, but how tough is it to be number one, stay number one, deal with the pressure, block it out, and get all the way from here all the way to here where I get to circle you in the middle of a brackets page?
Yeah, it was kind of weird being number one all year. We were nowhere near that last year, and so we really never felt like um, we were necessarily number one, necessarily always the favorite. Even going into powerhouse like playing a powerhouse like Marist, it almost felt a little bit like we're the underdog. They've been there the last 2 years, had a lot of experience in state championship games, and so even though we were ranked number one, I'm not really sure if that really sunk in either, that we really felt like we were necessarily the favorites.
When you're in a title game against a team that is as talented as yours, going up against a team that is as talented as Marist, walk me through that 80 minutes and what it was like for you.
Well, we thought we had a pretty solid game plan in terms of tactics, and we really thought we prepared the girls very well in terms of psychology. We did know that Marist had been there the last 2 years, so they're going to have a little more experience, maybe a little bit more, composure at the start. State championship games can kind of get a little crazy, and we knew that just with the nerves. And we were pretty nervous, though, probably for at least the first 30 minutes of the game. We expected some things to go up and down and sideways, but we didn't expect to be, just a basket of nerves for the first 30 minutes. We were on our heels quite a bit, just trying to really prevent Marist from getting many quality chances. We didn't see a whole lot of the ball. Probably about the last 10 minutes of the half, we started seeing a handful of decent sequences and really seeing the patterns that we had practiced in practice to get prepared for Marist, finding the gaps where we thought we could expose them. We started seeing those show up a little bit, and so had a little bit of confidence going into the second half, and felt like we definitely competed a little bit better those last 10 minutes of the first half and the second half, and made the game pretty interesting. And then really just finally made a play and defended brilliantly, and ended up on top. So,
what were the conversations like with you, the staff, and the girls about okay, it's another. I know that you're telling them that it's just another game and it's just another opponent, trying to blot out the fact that there's a title on the line, where you were kind of on your heels. How do you reorient their thought process to have them focus on the match and not have them focus on a match that determines a title, if that makes any sense?
yeah, we just kind of talked about a lot of the same things we talked about throughout the season. We had a really, really great year, made a lot of great plays, each individual player. We went through and highlighted all a lot of the great things they've done all year, just so we could really fuel their self-confidence, their self-belief, their trust in one another. Um, you know, like you said, it's you tell them it's just another game, but it's really hard. Even for us as coaches, it's really hard to get that into our minds as well. But like I said, we really felt like we had a good game plan. We just went through the X's and O's like we usually do, and pointed out the spaces that would work and the patterns that would probably work against Marist's formation and their style of play. But went a little haywire, but we fought really, really hard.
Went a little haywire.
It did. Like I said, the first 30 minutes, we just we felt like we were completely on our heels, and they were all over us. But finally, like I said, kind of last 10 minutes of the first half and throughout the second half, got a little bit better control of the game and competed a little bit better. So
Wrapped up the season at 19-1, nationally ranked as high as 7 in some polls, ranked number 5 in the state of Georgia in some polls. When I mention this roster and specifically the seniors that are leaving, what sticks with you in your mind from this group of seniors that's graduating?
So we only have 4 seniors graduating, but this is probably the best senior leadership we've ever had. Very young team, 8 freshmen, 2 sophomores that play a ton of minutes, and so anywhere. I think during the state championship game, at one point we had 6 freshmen on the field. So a lot of young players, and this group of 4 seniors really. It didn't really seem like those kids were sophomores and freshmen, and it was really a lot of the senior leadership and making them feel included and feel confident, and just feel part of the team. So
Nothing like having a half a dozen freshmen out there performing, and I mean, 2 of them with the last name of Mellish. I mean, what was it like to see them? How do you tell them apart, by the way?
they're not identical.
Okay.
So one's a forward and one's a defender. So definitely easy to tell them apart, and they're actually not identical looking, and they act completely different too. So
Okay.
Julie is outgoing and bold, and uh, you know excitable and funny, and Anna's just pretty reserved, but confident and calm, and so very different in the way they look and the way they act and the positions they play, everything.
3 double-digit goal scorers, but once again, you had a lot of different contributors this season. Speaking to the balance that's there, the experience that's there, even if you are an underclassman. So it seems like that the rhythm was there from early on. When did you realize that this might be a very special group? Was there a particular moment this season where that might have triggered?
I'm not really sure. We actually lost our opening scrimmage to Milton, and didn't look very good. But a couple early season games, we started getting some rhythm, and we really work a lot on actually staying in rhythm and on passing patterns and just playing. And that's actually when we looked our best. I think probably one of the best um, games we had all year was the first half of our second game against Westminster. We came out and we were just playing, in just such great rhythm, such great confidence, and created a bunch of chances early. I think we ended up winning that game 3-0. Only scored 1 goal in the first half, but we were just playing so well. And we thought to ourselves as coaches, if we can play like that, we definitely have a chance at winning a state championship.
It's crazy to think about, and I want to talk about your defense here for a second. But I was trying to figure out math, and for me, that's never my strong suit. But you only gave up 1 goal in the last, basically, 6 weeks of the season?
Something like that, yeah.
Which is insane to think about. You've only gave up 7 goals all season long, but you gave up the 1 goal, or you gave up the goal to St. Pius back on May the 5th.
Mm-hmm.
And before that, the last time you gave up a goal was the matchup that you won at Westminster back on March 21st. That, to me, is crazy defense. The fact that you only give up 1 goal in your last 3, 6, 9, 10 matches. That's insane to me to think about.
Yeah, we actually said that too. If we don't give up any goals, it's going to be hard for us to lose. So
Yeah. I mean, but what's it like to see that defense work so well, where you come up with that insane a statistic that you only give up 1 goal in your last 10 matches?
yeah, I mean, it's really amazing. I think we've always been a pretty solid defensive team, even last year. I mean, I think our goal differential was right around even though we only won 4 games throughout the course of the year. And but we've always focused pretty hard on being a good defensive team. We like to keep the ball a lot, but at the same time, if we're in trouble, we know that there are moments in the game where we just have to be safe and be smart, and not let just destroy the attack and not let the opponent get a chance. So we had a couple, our defenders did a really good job of that this year, of knowing when they could keep it and knowing when they had to just be a little bit safer.
Another couple of minutes there with Johnny Jackson, the girls' head coach at Blessed Trinity, your Quad A champs in the GHSA. How much time did you actually give yourself to celebrate once you won back on the 15th? This is the 5th day later. How much time did you actually give yourself to celebrate and catch your breath?
I kind of feel like I'm still celebrating a little bit. So I've had a smile on my face, I think, since Thursday. Getting still a lot of congratulations in the school hallway, and so again, I've posting some pictures here and there on social media, still the same theme. celebrating my players and stuff like that. So like I said, it's been really, really exciting and really, 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 really enjoyable.
What was the craziest reach out that you got either on your phone or on social media? What was like the furthest away someone reached out, or the most random reach out that you got to sell it to congratulate the club?
Shoot, I'm not really sure. I mean,
Like no one reached out from like Eastern Europe or anything like that?
I don't think so. So I'm actually, aside from being a soccer coach, I'm actually a referee and a referee assigner. So I've got, referees from all over that I work with, who work high school games and things like that, texting me. I can't really think of anything, too crazy.
Well, you said you'd already kind of started thinking about the 26th season. Have you talked to the schedule maker? Is your schedule all squared away? Do you know what's going on?
It's almost done. I think we have room for one game at the very end of the year, right before playoffs, and maybe one in between two of our tough region opponents, Cambridge and Westminster. I'm trying to decide if I even want to put a game there. It might just be better to have a week of practice. It'll have to be the right game if we decide to put one there.
Well, as always, my friend, it's great to see you. Congratulations. Thanks for putting up with all of our requests for coming on morning shows and things like that. As we say, once again, you grab the bracket. Since you're circled right there, that means you're a state champ right there, right there, right there. So congratulations, Blessed Trinity Class Quad A girls champs here in 2025. Coach, once again, thanks for everything you have been putting up with us all season long. We'll catch up with you soon, my friend. Don't be a stranger.
Thanks so much, John. Greatly appreciate it.
There we go. Johnny Jackson, head coach at BT. And so this is where we do the hot tag. And so as we roll things through, it's time to catch up with yet another champ. And the first time that Declan Abernathy gets to show up here on the morning show. And so so how does it feel, sir, to have Drew Charter as a champion?
Man, John, it's incredible. First time for our school winning a soccer championship, and second time in the finals after 2022. And the response, the reaction from the team and the community on Friday was something else. Honestly, it felt like something out of a movie or a TV show. Just the crowd, the administrators from basically K through 12 being out there in Macon. It was quite a feeling.
So as I mentioned with Coach Jackson at BT, so I have here in my hand, I have here a rather thick piece of paper, and I have to deal with cardstock this time of year because I write things down a lot. Class AA boys state soccer championship. Since you're right here in the middle, and you ended up getting the win, so that means that the season ended the way that you were looking at. Ranked number 6, came out as team number 3, and you only gave up the one goal heading into the championship game against Shaw. What was that run like as team 3 out of the upper right-hand side of the brackets as we all followed along in pen?
Yeah, it was an incredible run, and we had 9 seniors on our squad this year, and I tried to give them as much responsibility as possible, right? So when it came to the playoffs, whether it was the organization of getting themselves ready for pregame, right? They knew what I expected of them, but I deferred to them. I gave them the responsibility, on the field for organizing the back line. All three of our 3 center backs, our goalkeeper, our starting right wing back were seniors. And I told them, right, like, we want to be compact when we're out of possession. And we have a style of football where we want to play with the ball. We had a box midfield. We want to keep the ball. But when we lose it, we want to defend as a team. And we're going to win as a team. And we're going to get players behind the ball. And if they're going to beat us, they're going to have to do it by taking us on the dribble 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people, and you're not going to get an easy goal against us. You might score, but it's going to be very difficult, and you're going to have to push yourself.
How hard is it to win 18 in a row to finish the season?
Oh man. Yeah, for most of the season, I wasn't even really paying attention to the wins as the win streak as they came, right? Just one game at a time, as so many coaches will say.
That's dollar in the jar, Declan. You know that.
um, I think we had a few significant tests. We played Tri-Cities down at their home field. We played Walker at their home field. I think that Walker game, which we won on penalties, it was our last regular season game of the season, um, was a big test for us. But the momentum started building. Our first and only loss was against Paideia, which was always a great team, very organized team. And I told the boys, from the beginning, we didn't have to be ready to win a state championship in February. But as the season went on, we had to continue to grow as a team to learn the expectations and what it took. And honestly, for them, it was about, some of these tight games. I need takers on the field. Like, nobody's going to give you a state championship. It's not going to be easy. And some of these games, particularly out of our region schedule, really pushed us.
You wrap up 18-1 coming out of Class AA boys, but you had to kind of do bits and pieces of it on the road. Once you got out of the Glen Hills game in the 3:30, then Appling County comes to Drew Charter, Murray County comes to Drew Charter. Then you had to go to Reedsville to take on Tattnall County before you end up having to go and playing for the title at Mercer-Macon. What was that road trip like for the guys, knowing that everything else had been close to home, everything this entire season had been close to home, but then you're having to pack a lunch, a dinner, a midnight snack, and maybe a pillow and a tent to go down to play in a tough environment down there in Reedsville, in a growing soccer environment down there at Tattnall County?
The environment you mentioned, you nailed it, is incredible down there. And actually, last year in the playoffs, we went on the road to Toombs County and lost, so sort of a similar area. And for us, before the final, of course, we saw this as easily the biggest challenge of the playoffs, right? Tattnall County was, well ranked. They won a state championship in the past couple of years, and it's not close, as you mentioned. So for us, part of the thing that we've been focusing on, but this year, last year, is that mental focus, right? Getting on the bus. What is the task require of us? So, we have our meals planned out. The behavior on the bus is absolute focus. When we get there, of course, the challenge gets harder. You probably don't know this, but the game was weather delayed, right? Had a 2-hour delay there. Couldn't get on the field. One of the biggest challenges when we first got there was the flies, the no-see-ums down there were getting us in the locker room with no AC. And it just kind of felt like there was a lot of things working against us. And we really wanted to play that game, didn't want to make that drive twice. And we use it as motivation, right? Like, there are all these things that we got to overcome. And if we want to be state champions, nobody's going to give us anything. I think, honestly, the crowd, and they have a really small field down there, small grass field. And for us, like I mentioned, we want to play with the ball. Small field makes it hard to deal with their press, and they're using the intensity and the energy from the crowd. And we had to win that game really ugly. We got one pretty decent goal off a corner, but then we scored off our own goal on a long throw. And one of my sixes scored basically from half field over their goalkeeper. And it wasn't maybe the most pretty game that we had played, but it was a game that required us to sort of come together and find different solutions to the problem. And I think, once we were able to climb that hill, I was feeling really confident about the championship game.
Yeah, it's the first time that we've had a no-see-ums reference on the show this season. When it to the high school season, but that's what it takes. You're going into these environments, and then you advance from there to Mercer-Macon to take on Shaw, another building program in another market in the Western Frontier there in Columbus. When you put 5 on the board, was that a surprise from what you were able to study going up against Shaw in the final?
I don't know if it was a surprise. I mean, 5, absolutely, right? I think we've proved over the season that we can score goals. We can score goals in different ways from different players. Um, and that was one of the big things for us is, we're not relying on one player to find the answer to the problem. And on film, they look to have some great attacking talent, right? Number 7 and number 9, I don't know their names. And number, I think, 20 on the ball. All 3 of those guys were big threats. So we knew that we needed to slow them down and once again work as a unit to stop them from scoring goals. But going the other way, it looked like they had less experience on their back line. So that was something that we wanted to really test and get at them in different ways, and use some of our size in the attacking third to be able to create those goal scoring chances. But I mean, 5 goals for high schoolers in this kind of moment is just incredible. And I felt very American in the moment. Sometimes as a soccer coach, the moment gets so big, you're like, wow, I really wish I could use a timeout, But once a player's on the field, besides for your substitutions, they have to take ownership and ultimately execute. And I was just incredibly proud of them for, I mean, 5 goals, but also just only allowing one on the other side of things.
2 goal scorers north of 30 this season. When I mention Austin and Will, what sticks in your mind from them this season?
Yeah, wow. Um, I'll start with Will Causey, right? So he's going to play soccer at Wofford. This is my 3rd year around the program, and I've seen William develop. I would say he was always a great soccer player. He had an older brother that played at Drew, but for him, it was about the mental side of the game. And so often with very talented players and programs like this, um, it can feel like they have to do everything, and the other players look to them to do everything. And this year particularly, I was proud of him for maybe lowering the pressure on himself and doing what he needed to do. We moved him further forward from the 6 to the 10, and just, letting a great soccer player do some amazing things. And um, you know pair that with Austin Smith, who's a junior, who is always mad when he doesn't score a goal.
Yeah.
He is the most frustrated striker out there, and he wants to score every chance that he has. And for Austin, I think it was about he's a great straight line vertical striker. Can he do a little bit more of the work to get us close to the goal? Sort of the build up play, but also just kind of being a nuisance in the press. And um, I think the two of them, right? Like two goal scorers over 30. Um, Both of them scoring in different ways. Both of them with high assist tallies as well. So very unselfish. Um, just made it so that if you wanted to stop us, you were going to have to stop all sorts of different kinds of attack. And we're going to keep coming, right? We didn't score until 25 minutes into the game, and we know that we're going to create chances, and those guys are going to step up in those moments and create them.
8 seniors, I think, for you this year. When I mention that group on the whole, what sticks in your mind?
Oh man, that's a special group. I mean, that's a group that, as I mentioned, I've seen grow from being basically, 15, 14-year-old kids into adults. And um, Drew's maybe a unique place with the K through 12 charter system, and they're most of those 8 are what we call Drew babies. So they were at Drew since they were kindergartners, and our soccer director Akil Rashid um, basically, built a program for those guys, right? Whether it was playing, we didn't even have a soccer field when they were little kids, and watching them grow as soccer players, as great players in the club and high school environment. But also, I think what was the most unique part of it to me was on Friday before we went down to Macon, we had a little sort of like sending off parade where you had the kids from 5 years old through 18, lining up, giving us their best wishes, and it showed me, and I think those seniors, that they were part of building a program over time. I think we had graduated some other seniors before, but this group was really the first one that played together since they were little kids, that were in not one but two state finals, and to cap their senior career with this incredible win is um, something I'm so happy for them. And um, I think their legacy is going to really loom over this program for a long time.
Declan Abernathy, the boys head coach, AA champs, Drew Charter, hanging out with us for another couple of minutes here on the morning show. So if I ask you what you learned about yourself as a coach chasing after a championship, what did you think you learned about yourself?
Oh man, John, that's a good question. Um, you know, like I said, there's only so much you can do as a coach once the game starts. And I think last year when we went out in the Elite Eight to Toombs, maybe I was a little naive in what it took to win a state championship, particularly on the road. And what I wanted to emphasize for the players and for myself was, we need to have different answers to different problems. We can't always play beautiful possession-based football. And I think also the key thing that I learned this year, talking from the players, talking from other coaching mentors, is kids hate change. And in the playoffs, it's easy to maybe overcomplicate things in pursuit of those answers. So trying to keep the changes and the tactical shifts as simple as possible, keep the routine as simple as possible. I had one of my captains complaining still last week that I had them stretch differently before that Toombs game last year. So I knew, right, like, the routine that we set in February for pregame is going to be the routine that we carry through the playoffs, and really just trying to let them grow and take ownership of winning rather than saying, like, I have all the solutions for you. I mean, I don't kick a ball, right? At the end of the day, it's up to them, and putting them in a place to succeed is, my job as a coach. So I think just really keeping things the same, maybe not being so naive in the ways that we need to win, and ultimately deferring a lot of that winning responsibility, that mindset, to your captains and your key leaders.
So when you have a question yourself, who's on your speed dial that will pick up the phone and go, it's like, okay, yeah, Declan, what's on your mind? So how deep is your speed dial and who's on it?
Oh man, it's maybe it's not the biggest Rolodex. This is my third year of coaching for a whole year. Um, the first one always is Coach Carlos Baldeon. He was the coach for Drew when they made the final in 2022. We coached together at Inter Atlanta, and now he's in the academy up at Racing Louisville. So he's got a lot of insights, a lot of experiences there, and I'm very fortunate that he's the one that brought me into the program. I also turned to my one of my assistant coaches and friends, Eric McDonald. He's another coach at Inter Atlanta, but he played at college, a lot of top level playing experience. And finally, maybe less frequently, but someone that I have learned so much from was Dr. Colin Barnes through the U.S. Soccer Federation. He's a coach also at UNC Greensboro, I believe. He was my instructor for my C license last year. And a lot of the sort of maybe performance environment, mindset, and I also have been in graduate school. So thinking about how we can mix our educational backgrounds with our coaching backgrounds, and really try and create the best sort of like learning environments for players on a day-to-day basis.
Last question for you, and this is something that I've co-opted from my time at GPB during the other football season in the fall. Hannah Good and Matt Stewart and I have this thing that we call Make That Kid an Offer. And it is where there are student athletes that, for whatever reason, and you can put $1 in the jar for each one, to this, to that, not enough this, not enough of that. They're not getting the looks you think they deserve, or they're not getting looks, period. Who do you think fits into your Make That Kid an Offer category there at Drew Charter?
Ooh, any kid, regardless of class.
Regardless of class, hit me.
Oh man, um, I would have to say, in my junior class, one of the people I was most impressed with was Ryland O'Neal. And he's a junior. He used to play basketball as well on the Drew team. Um, Used to playing the 10 for his club, and I asked him to play the 6, and he's just an absolute dog. Maybe he's not the biggest guy. He's not going to score a lot of goals from the 6, but he played 80 minutes week in, week out. He was ready to take on some of the state's top attacking players, and whether it's in the tackle, keeping possession, sort of a quiet leader showing up day in and day out. He's the kind of kid that I think any program would benefit from having, and also he's just a pleasure to be around.
Congratulations, because once again, as I lift my bracket, Class AA boys circled in the middle. That means you're a champ. So once again, Declan, congratulations, Drew Charter champs, Class AA boys. Thanks for dropping by the morning show, and continued success with your studies, eh?
Yeah, thank you, John. Take care.
All right, be good. Declan Abernathy. So we go hot tag once again. Drew Charter out. Roswell in. We go and catch up with Coach Mary Deasing. Coach, how's it going? I know that you're juggling graduation, and I know that we kind of have you on the hop this morning. Oh, I can't hear you. Still can't hear you, Coach. Check your microphone settings there. Let's see if we can troubleshoot here and find out what's going on with Coach Mary Deasing's microphone here this morning. So I'm going to try and grab my bracket, and it is 5A girls champ for Roswell. And so I think she's logging out to log back in. And so Roswell over Northgate in the final in Class 5A girls. Once again, as we sit here and we lift our brackets, and we sit here when you go bracket, you look in the middle, somebody circled, they're a champ. Coach, you got your ears on. Oh, still can't hear you. Check your settings real quick and with your microphone. So, I don't have audio registering on any of my outputs. So I was going to say, check and see if your microphone is up and running on whichever device you have. So use your phone. You can use your phone just as effectively, because Coach Jackson at BT did the same thing. He used his phone because he was having firewall issues and things like that across the street. So as an alternative, go ahead and use your phone if the computer is still misbehaving. So let's see if we can get round 3 in here. But once again, Roswell over Northgate in the final. Maddie and Jason got to call that one up at Duluth High School 4 days ago. And there we go. Yes, there it is. How you doing?
Good. How are you? Sorry about that.
Oh, it's all good. I know, like I said, I know you got graduation stuff, and I know we got you on the hop. So how's graduation stuff going there on campus?
It's good. We're ready to go. We had graduation practice yesterday. Then we had our banquet last night. It's just been a whirlwind. We haven't had a second to breathe.
So let's talk about not being able to breathe. And obviously, as you follow along here in your brackets, how difficult is it to go pillar to post number 1?
The girls and I talk about it all the time. Like, our side of the bracket was tough. Like,
Uh-huh.
every team we played was a top 10 team. I think our only easier game for us was Lakeside DeKalb, and we actually prepared for it to be very hard because of you never really know going into those games and the rankings that everyone has and the results that they've been performing. So every game for us was a battle.
And as the Lakeside DeKalb alum on this particular show, I saw Lakeside DeKalb pop up in the bracket going up against the top ranked team nationally, and I'm like, oh boy. And the thing is, to your point, for those that don't follow along, and what I've been doing is I've been flashing brackets as we go. So once again, 5A girls, Roswell comes from the low right-hand section of the bracket. And so because when you make it to the middle and I circle you, that means that you did something good. But you had the number 5 ranked team, the number 10 ranked team in Riverwood, who you played in the opening round. You and Hab Central all low right. So you had 4 of the top 10 teams in the state of Georgia all low right. You knock off number 10, you knock off number 5, you knock off number 8. Then you play number 2 Pope, and you actually gave up a goal. I imagine there were some extra sprints at Ray Manus over that one. And then number 6 Northgate. So literally it's like you're trading haymakers with top-ranked teams that are right there with you this entire run. How do you keep that from turning into too much pressure and just focusing on the task at hand?
This season was different for us as a team, also as our coaching staff. This year, we went in undefeated, which we've never done before. I've never done it in my coaching career. So, like, it was that conversation with the girls that, like, you don't really have a choice anymore. Like, if you want your only loss of the season to end your season, then that's your only option is to win.
I mean, so how do you impress upon them the task at hand without turning it into pressure and having that pressure kind of envelop the entire situation? How do you sit there and do the one match at a time thing and understand that they want to accomplish the same thing that you do by the end of the schedule, but not have the pressure sit there and be too much?
I mean, the pressure was there all season, unfortunately, for us. When we won back in 2023, we were the surprise team. We were able to come from behind. This year, that target was on our back all season long. We were ranked number one in 5A, I think, all season, which is a cool stat to have, but also that pressure does build on high school girls. And, you have to just remind them that it's a game and continue to play what you love. And they set this goal back in January that they wanted to win region. They wanted at least 12 shutouts. They wanted state championship. And so, at the end of the season, they accomplished all three of them.
12. They wanted 12 shutouts.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I mean that's how do you come up with that kind of a number? Just like, I understand that you want to have that kind of a thing, but it's like 12, the magic number, it's how do you come up with that as a goal?
That would be a question for those young ladies. They didn't want it to be half. They wanted it to be something that they had to actually aspire, like they had to work towards. But ultimately, I was them. I don't make those goals. That's not my job. I just am there to help them reach them.
Yeah, well, and it's one more than half, and so I get that completely. You only gave up 7 goals the entire season. How mind-blowing was that?
You look back and you look at our stats, and I think we ended the season with if I'm not mistaken, 109 scored and 7 against. Like, that's an incredible stat. It's a testament to my back line. It's a testament to my goalkeeping. It's honestly it's a testament to the entire team because they all work together. It's a group of girls that if they made a mistake, they wanted to get back and get better, and help their teammates out. And it was no one person that was going to achieve those goals.
What did you learn about yourself chasing after a championship this time where you couldn't hide and everybody's running for you the entire season?
I am very thankful for the coaching staff that I have. I have 2 amazing assistant coaches, and between the 3 of us, we've fit together. Like, I always laugh and make fun of ourselves because we're like a tripod. One couldn't last without the other. And the 3 of us have had many, many heart to hearts about figuring out how to keep these girls going and motivated and, um, honestly, like, accountable for themselves. Because when you don't lose, it's hard to be like, see, you're not that great, and kind of put them in their place a little bit in a good way. But I'm very thankful for my coaching staff. I've learned that, you know, you have to constantly be willing to continue to push yourself too with these girls.
Well, and to your point, I've come across coaches these days who, in times of challenge, they discuss what went well. Like if there was like a loss or a bit of a rough patch, you focus on what went well in that situation. And if there's a win, you compliment them for the win, but still sit there and remind them that there are things that they need to work
Mhm.
on. So there's always that constant yin and yang of the work and the positives and the negatives going through a season. Was that kind of what you were addressing with the girls this entire way?
Absolutely. We had to talk to them a lot about, yes, you won this game and that's great, but it was not our best performance. There were games and there were wins that sure we won and we were happy we won, but it wasn't at the level that our team's expectations were at. So we had to have those conversations at the end. I said during playoffs, I think some people were confused that we're winning games and yet we're still having a little come to Jesus with some of our girls about performances and what needs to be better if they want to win the next, if they want to win state. And it's, you can laugh about it now, but there were some games at the end where our conversations were not very pretty and we won. So parents, probably fans, are like, why are they not happy? But our expectations were high because we knew what this group could achieve at their highest.
So when you think about this group of seniors that's leaving to head to the next, what sticks in your mind about that group?
We will greatly miss this group of seniors. They are a fantastic group. I had 7 seniors. 4 of them are going to play college soccer. They were role players for sure, and a lot of them will be greatly missed. You know, we got Natalie Brooks this year, and she was an absolute game changer for us. Clearly, if anyone watched the final, she definitely made her mark on our game by scoring the game winning goal. You know, Rachel Pfeiffer was with us as a sophomore when we won in 2023, and she came back and played huge for us this season. Ryan Churchill was one of our defenders. Lily Suarez, you know, we had Cami Maynor, who was huge for us and then ended up suffering an injury, which in the end had to make some of our other girls step up. So you never want that to happen, but I am proud of the girls that stepped up and filled that role. Sophie Brady, Evan Erickson, you know, it's a good group of girls that will be missed, and it's an opportunity for some of those younger girls to come in and hopefully fill their shoes, but there's some big shoes to fill.
So who is going to the next level to play soccer?
Natalie Brooks is going to Clemson. Cami Maynor is going to UNC. Rachel Pfeiffer is going to Eastern Kentucky, and Lily Suarez is going to West Georgia.
So of the group, who else who has not been getting the looks you feel they deserve that they need to get, or who hasn't been getting any looks from that roster of yours right now that you want to sit there and point and go, look, these are really student athletes that you need to keep an eye on?
We clearly almost everyone that's playing on our field should probably be looked at if we're doing what we're doing. You know,
Yep.
the seniors are going in their direction, but my junior class, my holding center defensive mid, Jessica Ritter, she's fantastic. You know, she filled into the role as the sixth for us this year that was new to her. She's great. Maya Masawa just stands out in year after year. She's definitely one who, if she wants to play, she should be able to play wherever she wants. You know, it's, we've got young talent. We've got sophomores that are my two center backs in the state championship game are both sophomores. You know, Nia John Baptiste, Carson Taylor. Those are two that I expect to see playing at the next level because of their commitment and their desire and their drive.
So how difficult is it for you to fill out your 26 schedule knowing what folks will be running into against you next year?
It's hard to schedule sometimes because people are like, well, you're undefeated. You're this. We don't want to play you. And I'm like, I am graduating talent. We're going to have to rebuild a little bit. We're going to have to, you know, fill in some holes that we're missing. But again, like I said earlier, this is the chance for some of these younger girls to step up and fill their role, find their role, you know, make their mark on this program's history.
How long are you giving yourself to celebrate?
You know, I haven't really had a chance yet. It happened. Then we had our banquet last night. We've got graduation today. It's kind of been a whirlwind since it happened. I feel like school's gonna end on students end on Thursday, teachers end on Friday. I think I might just crash for 48 hours straight.
Well, Mary, after this season, you've definitely earned it to shut your phone off, or at least put it on vibrate and just monitor things. People are sit there and like, well, hey, coach, what about then? It's like, no, I'm gonna put the phone over here. What I'm going to do is not work out for a day. I'm gonna go to Publix right around the corner. I'm gonna get some junk food. I'm gonna go to Jimmy John's, like, or go to the Arby's right around the corner, right there off of campus. Because you definitely deserved it, running pillar to post, top ranked the entire season. Thanks for everything that you've done with us this year. Great to catch up with you. Go celebrate and enjoy graduation, and we'll be knocking on your door soon. Once again, thanks for dropping by the morning show as graduation looms and because.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
All right, there we go. It's Mary Deasing, the head coach at Roswell. So 5A girls, once again, right here in the middle. So Roswell in the middle of the bracket, circled. That means that they won. And so Roswell, top ranked nationally, and obviously top ranked here in the state of Georgia. But the insanity of the fact that they had 12 clean sheets, only gave up 7 goals all season long. Are you kidding me with that? So that's hour number 1, where we went in session, brought to us by our friends at Kaiser Permanente. We will have a coda in the noon hour where we catch up with Coach Zamora at Johnson Gainesville and Coach Kearns at Lovett. And so that'll be the tail end of our coverage here when it comes to the high school game here in 2025, which means, of course, that we've got to get started on the coverage in 2026. And we do have a lot of stuff planned here at the network. So very, very cool. Once again, thanks to, and I'll say this again in the noon show for the COTA, but once again, thanks to all the coaches, all the programs, finding time in their lunch hours, finding time in between classes, wandering into classrooms that are empty, doing these interviews while they're in class and the class is off camera, watching the entire time. And for us, it's always a great education to come into these environments and sit there and see what's going on and how nationally ranked teams survive going 22-0, like Mary Deasing and Roswell did this season, winning 1-0 over Northgate in the championship in 5A girls. And once again, Maddie and Jason called that. When you can go back on the NFHS network and watch the call from Duluth all of 4 days ago. So Coach Deasing has had probably 3+ days to celebrate. Morning, David. As we kind of turn the page and head toward hour number 2, here's the rundown of hour number 2. We're going to catch up with Chattanooga FC on the women's side. Maren Butler, the associate head coach, is going to join us here in the next couple of minutes. And we'll break down everything CFC women as they get ready for the WPSL season. We're also going to catch up with them as an organization, hopefully on Friday morning, because there was a really cool announcement that we kind of wanted to pursue involving the growth of the program. And so we'll catch up with them on that coming up in just a little bit. And then after that, we'll talk about the twos from last night, and then we'll talk about Major League Soccer from the weekend, and we'll also talk about some morning news and things going on involving teams that are leaving the Premier League, but the Premier League is like, but before you go, here's something for you. And so, a bit of a kick in the pants and a note in your pocket on your way out the door, you're heading to the championship. And so we do have news on Leicester and all of that. So that is what hour number 2 is going to be like. Morning, David. Once again, thanks for dropping by, as you always do. And so it's really cool to kind of take our Tuesday and do the deep dives into things and kind of chase other topics as we go. And so very, very cool here as we go. So once again, anticipating catching up with our friends from Chattanooga FC and with a former Oregon Duck standout who gets to be associate head coach for Chattanooga FC's women coming up in just a little bit. So very, very cool stuff there. And so, like I said, we'll wander through and we'll let everybody know what's going on with Chattanooga FC's women, find out how, in fact, Maren Butler ended up going from Oregon to Colorado to Chattanooga, what she's learned about Chattanooga as a market, what she's learned about this particular season. What she's learned about the WPSL, what her expectations are, and what she's been learning with everybody around her in that organization as they get ready to play at Fort Finley here, getting ready in 2025. So we've got all of that coming up once again in just a little bit. Just once again to give you the lay of the land for the remainder of the week. Once again, it's going to be Tyler Pilgrim from Scarves and Spikes and Dylan Butler, MLSsoccer.com. They're going to be joining us tomorrow as our straight-up pundits and find out what's still on Tyler's mind with the Atlanta United week that was getting ready for a matchup with FC Cincinnati. 2 more matches at home. It is going to be weekend, midweek, and then they're not here in Atlanta because of Club World Cup for like 6 weeks. So it's an opportunity to see Atlanta United twice before they hit the road and get to the halfway point of the season. By the time they come back, it'll be an opportunity for them to lay everything out, and we'll see where Atlanta United is as they head to the summer roadie and the summer window, and we'll get you ready for all of that stuff coming up tomorrow. Once again, tomorrow also at the Moxie Hotel, it's going to be SDH and the Moxie welcoming the Hoff and DJEU. We're going to talk about the game day experience at the Moxie, so it'll be our first chance to catch up with folks at the Moxie this year in Moxie Midtown. It'll be a real intimate environment where we catch up and find out about the game day experience and what it's like for the Hoff and Sock connection to be putting things together on a daily basis. And I know that a lot of you looked at our promo taping from the last show, from the last home match, and you were you kind of went a little sideways. The laughter hasn't stopped, and we'll break the fourth wall a little bit and let you know what's going on with all of that, all of those things that are there, part of the game day experience. So once again, very, very cool stuff there, and we'll lay that all down for you at the Moxie. Once again, 7:00 start. And so it'll be a really cool breakdown of everything there That'll be on Wednesday. Thursday, we'll go back into the WPSL. We'll break that down, and it'll be a catch-up with Decatur FC. We're going to start 5 minutes early just so we can get the full conversation in. So Thursday morning will be a 9 o'clock start. Traditionally we are at 9:05. But Thursday morning, because of availabilities and such and trying to get guests into the program, Thursday is going to be a stacked show. So 9 o'clock, it's going to be Decatur FC. We're going to catch up with them and get them and find out what's going to be like for them for year 2. What are they going to do for an encore in the WPSL? Same division as Chattanooga FC. And so we'll find out what it's like for them getting ready for the 2025 season, as their home opener will be on Friday night at Decatur High School. So we're going to catch up with Decatur FC, one of the success stories in the WPSL from last year. And then also we're going to catch up with Laurel Failer from Queen City Press and queencitypress.net and do our oppo research, as they say in politics, our opposition research as FC Cincinnati comes to town. And so we'll catch up with Laurel Failer at about 9:20. So Decatur FC right at 9 o'clock. Then Laurel Failer, Queen City Press at 9:20. Then we'll kind of work our way to 10 o'clock in the Power Hour, in hour number 2, where it's our buddy Nino Torres from Gold TV, where we're going to talk about everything from probably Europa League to what's going on in Portugal, to what else is going on in Europe, to what else is going on in South America, Libertadores, Sudamericana, all points in between. We'll catch up with our buddy Nino Torres from Gold TV at 10 o'clock. Last half hour of the show on Thursdays is, as always, our buddy Nico Moreno from Pulso Sports and Sounder at Heart, where we find out everything from his mind, from the Pacific perspective. You'll remember that last week, Nico ended up on a bit of a rant of rather large proportions involving Messi and friends, and he wasn't wrong. And so what will he do for a follow-up? We'll find that out. All right, time to do the hot tag and find out how a duck ended up going from Oregon to Colorado to Chattanooga and what she thinks about it. And so we welcome into the show for the first time ever, we get to catch up with our friend Marin Butler, associate head coach for Chattanooga FC Women. Marin, thanks for dropping by the morning show.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. So how does a duck go from Oregon to Colorado to Chattanooga? How does this happen?
Well, I did fly from Denver to Chattanooga, but I did drive from Oregon to Denver. My journey just keeps taking me east. Obviously, have never lived on the East Coast before, and I'm feeling the humidity. I will say one thing: when I landed in Chattanooga, the first time I moved here, I was like, it is suspiciously green here. It must rain. I know, because I grew up in the Pac Northwest. So super excited to be here. Loving every second of it.
All right. So how did you end up, what were the conversations like? For those that don't know the relationships with those that you are associating with your head coaching, how did the relationships go, and how did you get knocked on the door to sit there and go, yo, Marin, come over here to CFC? How did all of those machinations work to get you here?
Yeah, I think that there are a lot of connections that you build within the soccer community over the years. And that's one of the best parts about it, because there's always going to be new opportunities that challenge you as an individual, guide your beliefs in the sense of what you want to build and what you want to create within this journey. And I think that was a really big piece for me. Made some really strong connections in Colorado and had the opportunity to move out to Chattanooga and create something new in this space, not only with MLS Next, but also within CFC Women. And that's something that really excites me and is a part of what I want to do as an individual within my growth.
So you look at CFC, how much did you know about the operation before they knocked on your door and it was like, come on over? How much did you know about Chattanooga as a market for soccer, and what did you know about CFC?
Yeah, I knew that there was a large market for soccer just due to the MLS Next Pro space and it being the only professional team within the city. So I knew that a lot of the community was revolving around CFC MLS Next Pro. So that is known across the country. I will be honest, without that piece, right? I didn't know a ton about Chattanooga. I had never actually been to Tennessee before. I'd obviously heard about Nashville and, soccer tournaments tournaments that go on in that space, but learning the community, learning the the climate as a whole has been something that I've been, really interested in continuing to learn about. So I didn't know a ton, but now I know a lot, and I'm really happy to be here.
So, you mentioned learning a lot and knowing a lot about it. It's one of those markets here in the Southeast where we know about the growth in the state of Tennessee, and with the drifting of the soccer talent into the state of Georgia, into Northeast Alabama, up toward Nashville, out toward Knoxville. It's a hub for a lot of talent. What has it been like for you and the staff to get things ready for CFC women here this season? What's it been like to assemble that group for you?
Yeah, it's been incredible. I mean, I would say first and foremost, the resources that we have here are insane. They don't match up with a lot of teams across the country. So not only having access to Finley, but I would say access to the support staff, Juan as the head coach, right? There is so much talent and resources within this space. And we are here to capitalize on that, to make sure that we give these players the best experience that they can have. So not only do we have success this season, but they come back time and time again, and we continue to build.
Yep. Associate head coach, Chattanooga FC women, Maren Butler, dropping by, hanging out with club legend Juan Hernandez, building the 25 roster, getting ready for the 25 season, which is coming up just around the corner. One of the really interesting things that I also noticed was in the roster assembly is that it's not just Southeast, it's Fun Belt, it's HBCUs that are represented. What's it been like for you to see the growth of the sport to where it's, while yes, there is a great regional impact, that you're getting to draw from a bunch of other conferences and a bunch of other places where folks are interested to come and be a part of what CFC is building?
Yeah, I think it starts with the growth within women in sport, right? We're seeing it within the NWSL, the growth there, the excitement around professional women's soccer and professional women's sport in general. And the places that can provide those professional level experiences are getting attraction from the top players within the country. It doesn't matter where they live. These players want to be professional soccer players, and they know that they need to experience the environment here in Chattanooga FC if they want to continue to push themselves and be ready for that call when it happens to become a professional soccer player.
So when you are out there and you're there with Coach Hernandez trying to get the season underway, how would you break down the philosophy of what you are trying to do on the pitch and how you're trying to represent CFC off the pitch with this group that's been assembled?
Yeah, absolutely. There are really three parts to it, right? We have established a championship team, and that was the goal first and foremost, to bring a group of players here that we knew we were going to be able to win championships with them, right? Now, we have to use all of our resources, the community, make sure that we are doing the right things on and off the field to continue to cultivate that culture, because we know a winning team has a winning culture, right? And the CFC community is a really big part of that. And the third thing is we want to develop players. We want them to get better here, step into their next environment in the fall, whether it's in their college environment or a professional environment, and have them impact that game immediately. So it is revolving around the players, around their development, with also those two pieces, community and championship, in mind.
How difficult is it going to be for this staff going into the WPSL, where it is a sprint? There really isn't a whole lot of room for build-up. The bell curve doesn't really exist. It literally is, you've got to hit the ground running, and you got to slam it into fifth gear and make sure that the engine doesn't drop out of the car and that it doesn't come up. I mean, what's it like to be a part of something in the WPSL where it's like literally you're at the quarter mile, you've got to slam it as soon as it hits the green light, and you've got to go at 300 miles an hour?
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that we talk about every single day, right? We do not have time to get going here, right? We have to get into things right away. Juan and myself have periodized the season. We know exactly what we need to be working on every single day of the week so that we're prepared when we hit the pitch this Friday. So that's been a key part of our periodization. And the other thing is we have to quickly understand what the players are capable of, right? We knew them coming in. We had seen highlights. We knew the players individually, but collectively, we have to be on the same page. So that socio-affective superiority is something that we're talking about a lot. Do you know your teammates? Do you know what they're capable of? Okay, now let's go to work.
Socio-effective superiority. I swear I have never heard that before. I've got to write socio-effective superiority.
Yes.
That's huge. I have never heard that before, broken down that way. I mean, wow, that's a lot of Scrabble points.
Yeah.
So, but the thing is, your duties aren't just there. You're also in charge at U13 and U15. What's it been like for you to assemble what's going to happen at 300 miles an hour, but at the same time be a part of the growth that is going to be that bell curve that should be a part of what's going to be happening with the franchise up and down the road? What's it like to be a part of the build and slam something together?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think every day is a learning opportunity. As coaches, you have to be adaptable, right? Something works, we don't fix what's not broken, right? But we also need to quickly adjust if something isn't working. So that starts within our academy, right? Making sure that those players are getting the attention, getting the development that they need to one day step into this space. So that is what we're doing every single day, creating and recreating, creating and recreating.
So it's literally, it's like you've got a recipe, but then when you sit there and you sample what you've made there at the Lazy Susan in the middle of the kitchen, you're like, well, it might need a little bit more salt, might need a little bit less salt, might need a little bit, might need some oregano. So it's almost like being in a kitchen with a cupboard and sitting there and almost have it. Now, is it like having a fridge that is stocked, or do you have to kind of be imaginative and figure out where you can shop and get things assembled the right way?
Yeah, well, the reality is development is individual. So what works for one player doesn't necessarily work for the next player. So we have to look at it as a collective, but then we also have to adapt with certain players to make sure that they're ready to go.
So, you mentioned getting ready to go. What has it been like getting ready for the group there in this particular division, the WPSL? How much study hall have you had looking at everybody else, or is it pretty much just focusing on yourself, knowing that you've got to slam it into fifth gear?
Yeah, it has to be both, right? We have to understand the competition. We have to be prepared for what they're going to show us in games. But we also have to understand that right now is about us, because we got to be in coordination with one another to even execute what we need to execute on Friday. So I think as we move through the season, we play everybody twice, right? So that's amazing. We can see what went well, what needs to be adapted for the next game and apply. But for these next few games, it is about us. And then obviously those simple adaptations when needed.
Maren Butler, AHC for CFC on the women's side, dropping by for a couple of minutes before they get ready on Friday. How would you describe yourself as a coach stylistically?
Yeah, I'm definitely competitive, right? So everything that we do within our environment, we're keeping score, we're competing, whether we have the ball or we don't have the ball, to make sure that we are ready on game day. I would say for me, I'm a very player-centric coach. I like building relationships with the individuals. I have been in their shoes, right? So I think that's a really important piece. And what I can bring stylistically is I do have that connection and understanding of what they're doing every single day. And that is key for us. That is key for the environment. And then the last piece that I would say is I'm a pusher. I will push you to your limits, right? There might be days that you walk away a little grumpy, but I know that our trust in the relationship that we built, it will all come full circle. So
back at your time in Colorado, part of your job description, which I imagine was a double-sided business card from your time at Rapids Youth, was Director of Performance Analysis. How much time do you spend in the 30-hour day that I imagine you have to have looking at analyzing performance of players? How much of it is the eye test? How much of it is video? Where do you compare your notes, and how big a dossier are you compiling when it comes to players on the fly like this?
Yeah, definitely. Both are extremely important, right? The video analysis gives us more qualitative data that we can take back and make sure that the players are understanding those qualitative actions and moments. But we do lose a little bit of that emotional state watching video, right? That decision making. We can't always see what they see on the field, even within video. So that's why we have to bring both together to help them with their performances. But I love video analysis. I'm super intrigued by it. I know that it is important. And we have seen a huge shift in the capabilities of video analysis, not only for coaches, but also for players as well.
So when you're sitting with a player and you're doing that kind of analysis, do you let them look at something first and then come in for a group session, or are you sitting down with them from the absolute beginning? So the analysis is that group think going forward. How do you handle analysis?
Yeah, it depends. I would say when you are more on an individual approach, I would have players review, bring back some of their thoughts, and then we would talk through maybe alternate decisions that they could have made within that space. But as a group, we look at, lines. We look at all 5 lines on the field, our goalkeeper, our back line, our six, our midfield line, and our front line, right? And that's a bigger picture and probably more discussion and a little bit more complex, right? So we do have to, show all of those pieces. It's not just about the individual, but it's about the complexity as a whole as well.
First 3 matches at Fort Finley, starting on the 23rd, going up against UFA Gunners, 7 o'clock kick. For somebody walking in the door and watching CFC women go up against UFA Gunners, who are some of the names that they'll gravitate toward, other than saying, yes, the entire roster that you need to learn and go and see them every single time out? Who are some of those natural players that they'll gravitate toward, do you think?
Yeah, I think some of the players that are extremely experienced have played at some of the highest levels within this space. Or one, Reese McDermott, she will be playing up top for us. She is a ruthless goal scorer, someone that we're going to have a lot of entertainment watching. I think another individual is Jordan Crockett. He was a part of the Colorado Storm national championship contending team last summer, in addition to Reese. So they truly do know what it takes to play at that level. Goalkeepers, we have a really strong goalkeeper selection here. One, Maddie Smith, coming our way from Florida State University, will be a fun one to watch. But the reality is the group is very, very strong. There are a lot of players that have, I will now say, qualitative superiorities, right? That are going to be super effective within the environment. So we're really excited to get going.
When you dropped into CFC and you knew that you were going to be a part of the hierarchy of the coaching staff, how badly did your phone blow up to sit there and say, hey, yeah, I want to come and play at CFC? What was that like with either texts or WhatsApps or emails? How much blowing up did your phone have as you were trying to assemble this roster?
Yeah, there was a lot of excitement, I think, from players as well as college coaches across the country that I have built strong relationships with, knowing that they want to send their players over the summer somewhere that they're going to develop and be taken care of, right? So that trust and leveraging that trust got us a lot of really top quality athletes here this summer.
Really looking forward to it. So, as always, welcome to Chattanooga. Maren Butler, Associate Head Coach, Chattanooga FC Women, working with club legend Juan Hernandez, building out the roster. 25 season, first 3 matches at home, starting up this weekend at Fort Finley. Maren, you now officially have, and I know that our buddy Hayes Creech has the keys to the kingdom and the garage door opener. So as the season goes along there with the WPSL, you can knock on our door anytime. Great to see you. Thanks for dropping by. Thanks for the preview, and welcome to Chattanooga.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
There we go, Maren Butler. And so that's what it's going to look like. First 3 matches at home for CFC's women. And what we didn't tell you is that, by the way, just so you know, she has a master's in journalism from the University of Oregon. So she knew that what she was getting into with the questions going sideways here, as they have a tendency to do. And once again, thanks to our buddy Hayes Creech, Director of Communication up there at CFC. So that is story 1 of 2 that we look like we're going to be securing this week to find out what's going on up there at CFC. So once again, CFC women, first 3 matches at home in the WPSL season. UFA Gunners, then it is Georgia Impact, and then from there it is Decatur FC. 1, 2, 3 at Fort Finley to start things off this year. So Maren Butler, Associate Head Coach up there for CFC on the women's side, WPSL, and that is that's your quick preview about what's going on up there at CFC. So, all right. So now, with it being hour number 2, we got stuff to get into. Last night for Atlanta United 2, it was an opportunity for a home game away from home up at the Sportsplex at Matthews, taking on Crown Legacy. It ended up 2-2 after 90 minutes. So Atlanta United 2 once again walks away with a point. And it also goes into the penalty kick shootout, and it was a 5-3 win in the PK shootout for Crown Legacy. So Crown Legacy ends up getting the extra point after last night up there at Matthews. And so right now, conference standings, and I'm going to go ahead and hit the refresh button because it's the end of the match week. And so it ends up with Atlanta United 2 in the Eastern Conference. Right now, it is 11th place, but it is somewhat misleading because of how jammed the conference is at the moment. You have Atlanta United 2 with a record of 1-2-6-2, and they are at 11 points. And it is because they only have the one win in regulation that they are in 11th place. TFC has 11 points. They have 3 wins on the season, and that's why they are in 10th. Atlanta United, frankly, they're a win out of 7th place. They're a win out of being in the playoff discussion in the Eastern Conference in MLS Next Pro. So with the extra point picked up in the penalty kick shootout, Crown Legacy is now 2-2-4-2. That fourth column is your shootout win, the extra points that you get there. So Crown Legacy with the win, they're at 2-2-4-2. They're at 12 points. They have 2 less wins than Chicago Fire 2. But Atlanta United 2 with the point on the road, at home on the road. Once again, it was supposed to be up at the Fraction, but the field was deemed unplayable. So the game was moved, pushed back a day. We had it on the network. You can go back and listen to the broadcast from last night. But it ended up with, and you'll see on the video highlights with Peyton Gallagher on the call on the MLS Next Pro side. A piece of imagination off a recycled corner. Javi Armas on the one hop to Cayman Togashi, and Togashi basically just does a flick with the outside of his right boot, and it pops up over George Marks and into the net for the first goal of the match. And it ended up with that being the 1-0 lead, and Atlanta United had the lead until the 35th minute, when it was a pass by Efren Morales that was intercepted by Crown Legacy, and it ended up Aaron John ended up going past and around. It was around Jaden Hibbert and the Ronan Wynn, and so it ends up going past the two of them. 35th minute, and they were tied at 1. Then Subotic scores in the 67th minute to make it 2-1, and then Javi Armas misses the PK opportunity after Gabriel Wesse was taken down inside the box. So Armas lines up for the PK. It's saved by George Marks, who made 8 saves on the night. Then Armas slams home the rebound, 2-2 in the 89th minute, and that's how you end up going to PKs before Atlanta United loses in PKs 5-3. So it is going to be a bit of a quicker turn for Atlanta United 2 because they are scheduled to play Orlando City B at the Fraction on Friday night. 7:30 kicks, 7 o'clock pregame right now. And obviously, as things continue to play themselves out, evolve, whatever term you want to use with the field conditions up in Kennesaw, then we will let you know what the situation is with Atlanta United 2 and whether or not that match at Kennesaw is going to happen on Friday night. Once again, just we have no empirical evidence one way or the other, but I'm just saying because of what happened this weekend where it was unplayable, I don't know what the turnaround time is going to be for the field to be playable in the eyes of the clubs and in MLS Next Pro. So we'll keep an eye on that for you. Scheduled for Friday night with Orlando City B. We'll keep you posted on that. And then that's the next go-round for Atlanta United 2 going forward before they end up finishing the month going to Red Bulls 2 on the 30th. So it ends up with match scheduled against OCB. That is scheduled for this Friday. And that is a 7:30 kick, 7 o'clock pregame. Then on the 30th, it's the last match of the month for the twos. They go to Montclair, and I'll have the call for you on that one. 5 o'clock on the 30th, 4:30 pregame, 5 o'clock kick for Atlanta United 2 and Red Bulls 2 at Montclair State Soccer Park. And then that's the day before Atlanta United takes on Red Bulls at SI Stadium in Harrison, New Jersey on the 31st of May. And so that is where the twos currently are, involving Atlanta United 2, and where things currently evolve from there. So Atlanta United 2 was a comeback in the 89th minute. Javi Armas once again gets it to a 2-2 draw as they finish up 90 minutes. And then Crown Legacy ends up getting the extra point by winning the PK shootout 5-3. So that is your Atlanta United 2 update on the day. Looking back at the rest of what went down in Major League Soccer on the weekend, you had some. Let's just say that there were some intriguing storylines and some intriguing plot lines. But just so you know, tonight, it is the Can Champ quarterfinals and the beginning of the Open Cup round of 16. We'll go into juice boxes coming up in a bit. 4 matches. You have Forge and CF Montreal. That one is on Fubo, One Soccer, Fox Deportes, and Big FOX. That one is at 7 o'clock. The Can Champ quarterfinals from Hamilton Stadium. I'm guessing that Tim Hortons is no longer the sponsor at what used to be Ivor Wynn, and so they're looking for sponsors unless the Can Champ has their own sponsor, and it is conflicting who the sponsor is in Hamilton. So that's at 7 o'clock. You also have at 7:30, it is on Golasso Network and Paramount Plus, the beginning of the Open Cup round of 16, Chapey Field and Anderson Stadium. It is the Revs hosting Chicago Fire. 8:30 on Fox and Fox Deportes. It is Valor and Vancouver in the Can Champ quarters at Princess Auto Stadium at 8:30. And then at 10:30 on Paramount Plus and CBS Sports Network, it is San Jose and Portland from PayPal Park. So that is your rundown. Well, like I said, we'll go over juice boxes in a bit, but the larger day for the U.S. Open Cup is tomorrow, where all of the matchups that did not happen today are happening tomorrow. The 6 that are on the board are happening tomorrow. Philadelphia, and they're all on Paramount Plus as a part of their expanded coverage. Paramount Plus and the Hounds. I swear to God, that is what they're calling themselves now. It is not it is not Pittsburgh Riverhounds or anything like that. Literally, as I'm staring at it in the scheduling, it is listing themselves as the Hounds. That's such a softer approach. That is such a different way about going about things. It's the Hounds. It's softer. I don't know if Bob Lilly likes softer at all. The Hounds. Philadelphia and the Hounds at Subaru Park. The Hounds. Purple team in Nashville's at 7:30 in Central Florida. Golasso Network has chosen Red Bulls and FC Dallas from SI Stadium. Loons and All Caps at Allianz Field. That one is also at 7:30. DC United in Charlotte from Audi Field is also listed at 7:30. 9 o'clock, Copa Tejas Open Cup style at Q2, Austin and Houston Dynamo. And your Can Champ quarterfinal involving Vancouver FC and Cavalry FC from Willoughby Community Park. That's at 10 o'clock tomorrow. So that is your quarterfinals activity in all of this. But like I said, we'll go over what happens in the juice boxes coming up in just a little bit. So schedule from the weekend, we'll kind of walk through it. And good morning. Oh, no. Oh, no. Silly Triangle and then other things attached to Silly Triangle. Silly Triangle, you are going to be blocked and reported. And I will not be in the minority in this because we always sit here and look at things. So, bot, next. Can you give us more information? Yeah, I can. It's a bot. Suspected of being a bot. So then tell us more. Viewer, solicitation bot, 23 characters. Did I spell it correctly? Yes, I did. Submit report. There we go. All right. So thank you for submitting your report. So report has been submitted on Silly Triangle and a bunch of consonants. So E.G. Dillard, yes. Del, I was looking at the roster and there were a lot of different locales and universities and things. And when Coach Butler mentioned the one player up top, Reese McDermott, I was like, FC Pinzgau-Saalfelden. How did that happen? And then I looked, and she went to Colorado School of Mines, and I'm like, there's your connection because of Coach Butler and her ties to Colorado Rapids youth and stuff out there. Anything with a Colorado tie, it makes sense that it ends up working its way back to Chattanooga. So, Ricky, seeing faint rumors about Thiago Almada being in the crosshairs again. This would be the first time that I have seen this kind of stuff. So let's do a bit of a dig before we get into the rest of the week that was involving Major League Soccer. Okay, well, so according to some folks, Villarreal, Real Betis, Atlanta United, and some clubs from the MLS. Ekrem Konur, who is overseas, Diario AS, a bunch of other places, 235,000 followers on the 280-character app. Botafogo and John Texter, it would be something with Eagle Holdings where Eagle Holdings is having problems making ends meet in Ligue 1. And so what it would be is finding a buyer for Thiago Almada. And Thiago Almada has wanted to play in Europe. And so so Botafogo is looking for 35 million euro. I don't think Atlanta is going to pay 35 million euro for Thiago Almada to return. I could see Villarreal or Real Betis paying 35 million. But according to Ekrem Konur, 35 million is what Botafogo is looking for Thiago Almada. And then according to RTI Esporte, who is under 1,900 followers, open discussions to bring him back for the 2025 season. Loan to Lyon, and Lyon can't buy him. Transfer ban and financial issues for Lyon. This is kind of what we were getting into. They have a transfer ban, tried to move him to La Liga, even offering him to Betis. Betis pulled out due to financial constraints, according to some folks. Tactical mismatch in foreign player limits. Botafogo hoped he'd return for the 25 Club World Cup, but Almada isn't keen, wants to stay in Europe or explore other options. And I imagine, Ricky, this is what you were staring at. Atlanta United begun talks with his reps, open to coming back to the club. Still need John Texter's green light, but once again, keep an eye on Thiago Almada. Once again, a lot of folks are referencing the RTI Esporte report for all of 1,900 followers. So Almada's first European goal, remember, came against Manchester United in the quarterfinals back 6 weeks or so ago. So, yeah, Thiago Almada, keep an eye on it. But once again, if Botafogo is looking for 35 million, I don't quite think Atlanta can match that 35 million. But obviously keep an eye on it. With Ekrem Konur discussing Thiago Almada and possible locations for a future employ. I think, Ricky, that's what you were staring at. So that's what I'm staring at. Sean Vergara, good morning. Morning, Harry, and morning to everybody who is drifting in on the YouTubes. What's going wrong with Atlanta United? Sean, how much time do you have? Welcome back, by the way. It's a lot of different things. You have folks that aren't gelling, and it is folks that aren't gelling on the field, and you have a lot of stuff that is up and running with Atlanta United that is frustrating a lot of folks right now. It is not scoring any goals. It is the folks that have been pieced together, not gelling in the attack. And the defense has come around a bit in the last little while. 5 at the back seems to be a tactical shift that has been working. They haven't been giving up a whole lot of goals. You've had injuries in key locations. But, yeah, it's just basically a bunch of different things, Sean, and we talk about it every single week. So do not be a stranger. It's good to have you back. Morning, Harry, by the way. So it's a lot of different things from a lot of different angles. So if you were to suggest a topic, it would probably be a part of the discussion. But once again, it's the DP's not producing, and it is, allowing goals that in original formations and just not being clinical in front of the net. So it's a lot of things. So it's stuff that Ronnie Dial and the staff are trying to hash out and figure out what your starting 11 is going to look like, what's your formation going to look like, who's going to fit where. It is all over the place, and trying to figure out what solutions are as we get closer and closer to the halfway point of the season. 2 more home matches left before Atlanta United hits the road for 6 weeks. And we're going to follow along as we go. Club World Cup's going to be here, so Atlanta United's on the road. And we'll discuss all that stuff with Club World Cup and all pieces in between. So there we go. So, yes, don't be a stranger. Sean Vergara, do not be a stranger. All right, so let's get back into what happened last week in Major League Soccer. Last weekend, it was 17 and the 18th. Okay, so Toronto put 6 on Montreal. That was definitely not something that we had on the bingo card to start off the weekend. Did not have that at all. So Toronto, Tyrese Spicer, Bernadeschi a brace, Corbiano a brace, Brynhildsen got the start. And the Joel Waterman red card in the 21st minute means that you won't have Waterman coming up this week. Giacomo Vrioni scored in the 64th after it was already 4-0. Vrioni made it 4-1, then Corbiano scored in the 66th. So basically it was 4-1 for about 2 minutes. Corbiano scored to make it 5, then Corbiano at 90+1 to make it 6. Did not have that on the bingo card. So you have a club that is now finally getting to play matches at home, and they end up giving 6 up to a rival. Hudson River went to NYC this go-around at Citi Field, winning 2-0. Columbus and Cincinnati 1-1 at lower.com. Pat Noonan felt fortunate to get 1 point and get 1 goal out of that. And so we'll discuss that with Laurel Failer on Thursday morning and break down what she was able to discover from conversations with Pat Noonan as she heads to practice on Thursday. But 1-1, Columbus and Cincinnati, and hell is real. Pat Noonan was fortunate. He thought to get a point. So we'll see what Laurel Failer thinks about what happened in hell is real as they start to apply that information. They were not in control from great parts of the match. And so we'll catch up with Laurel Failer and get our opposition research on Thursday and find out what she's learned coming out of Hell is Real and what she's learning on her way to practice on Thursday morning, getting ready for Atlanta United and FC Cincinnati. Chicago put 4 on Charlotte, and I was waiting for complaints coming from Dean Smith and others. Jonathan Bamba scored in the 42nd. That was 1-0 at the break. Gutierrez scored in the 60th. Zinkernagel scored in the 64th. So it was 3-0 before Patrick Ajimong scored in the 70th minute. Then Gutierrez scores from the penalty spot in the 79th minute, 4-1 your final. And once again, I'm sure Dean Smith was raising all kinds of holy hell in the post-match presser. But it was a frustrating day for Charlotte for sure as they lose 4-1 at the B of A to Chicago. New England, San Jose, Arena Bowl 1, nothing was resolved. Same for Austin and Vancouver, and I legitimately thought that was going to be something where Vancouver was going to be scoring goals, but the defense stepped up for Austin in that, but Austin is still trying to figure out where to find goals. Goalless draw for both. Houston in Copa Tejas got 2 on the board at Toyota, knocking off FC Dallas 2-0. Minnesota put 3 on St. Louis at Allianz Field. And that kind of necessitated our watch yesterday with Olaf Melberg because it was reported by Sportsbladet, and they were the ones that broke the Melberg hiring, that it might be Olaf Melberg being out of a gig. It got to the point yesterday where you end up with Tommy Scoops saying any rumors that they had parted ways with Melberg premature for the moment. Club's leadership continues to evaluate the team's performance and progress. 11 points, 14 matches, 11 goals, 28th in Major League Soccer. So you have Olaf Melberg apparently on his coaching career is on life support in St. Louis. We're keeping an eye on that. But not scoring and not winning, it's a bad combination. And in St. Louis, it might mean that Olaf Melberg is out of a gig after only 3 months. No goals in Nashville and DC United. Colorado beat RSL 1-0. Portland and Seattle a 1-1 draw. San Diego and Sporting Kansas City goalless as well. So there weren't a whole lot of goals night side on Saturday in Major League Soccer. Then you get to Sunday, and Orlando, the purple team, put 3 on Inter Miami at the Erector Set. So purple team beats Messi and friends at the Erector Set 3-0. Probably in one of the shocks of the weekend. Probably not. Well, if you were to ask Nico Moreno about it, not necessarily shocked per se, but probably the margin. Miami toothless in the attack. Muriel, Pasalic, and Thorhalson, 43rd, 53rd, and 90+4. Orlando 3-0 to the good in that one. And so your stats, just to let the stats breathe a little bit. Orlando, but once again, when you get an early goal, you really don't care about possession. They only had possession 39% of the time. 21 shots to Messi and friends compared to 17. So you had possession 38.5% of the time. You still had 17 shots for the purple team. Shots on target, 8. So you had 17 shots, 8 of them on target, and you only had 38.5% possession. Total passes, once again, you don't really care considering you had a lead and you only passed at 78% accuracy. 12 corners, 9 to Messi and friends. 11 crosses, all to Messi and friends. Aerial duels, 50-50, 13 apiece. XG, by the way, 3.3 to 1.4 to the purple team. Saves, 9 on the day, 5 to Messi and friends, 4 to Pedro Gallese. 15 clearances for the purple team on the day to only 3 for Messi and friends. 26 fouls called, 16 of them went to Messi and friends, and they got all 4 yellow cards on the day. All 4 yellow cards on the afternoon went to Messi and friends, and you end up with Suarez with a yellow, Messi with a yellow, Falcone with a yellow, and Noah Allen a yellow in the 11th minute. So that was how you ended up with that particular result, and that's just a cursory look at the numbers. 8 shots on target for the purple team, which meant 5 off target. 4 on target for Messi and friends, which meant 8 off target. 9 shots blocked for Messi and friends compared to 3 for the purple team. So 1 of 11 in open play crosses. Orlando didn't really care. Set piece crosses were at 50% for the purple team. Open play passing percentage, 88% to 79%. Messi and friends with 88% passing, open play passing for the purple team, under 80%. But once again, you got a lead, you don't care. And that was where it ended up with the control. And in the literally in the control breakdown, there were 3 5-minute increments where the purple team had control of the match. But at the end of it all, it ends up as a big win for the purple team on the road at Messi and friends. And so Gallese ends up getting an assist. So if anybody had Gallese in fantasy on the Muriel goal in the 43rd minute. So you get Gallese with an assist on the Luis Muriel goal. But just crazy result there with 3 goals on the board by the time they were done. 3-0 win. And then the last game of the weekend was El Tráfico, and LA found yet another way, meaning LAG, not to get a win, and the streak is now at 14. Marco Royce scores in the 6th minute, and you're going, oh my God, is it going to happen? The answer, no. Denny Boanga scored 7 minutes later. Nathan Ordaz scored in the 50th to make it 2-1 LAFC. Royce got a double, scoring in the 87th, and then you're thinking, okay, well, maybe something's going to happen here, and LAFC rode out the final minutes. 2-2 draw, and Marco Royce gets a double, and that's what I think Greg Vanney was looking for when you brought Marco Royce in last year, and you finally get a double from him this year. So you look at the standings after what happened this past week. So conference standings in the East, Philadelphia, Cincinnati, both with 9 wins, both with 29 points. Philadelphia, a far superior goal difference. 14 matches, 19 goals scored by Cincinnati. 27 goals scored by Philadelphia, averaging almost 2 a match. Columbus right now, Crew, as we head into match week 15, they are at 27 points. Nashville is at 24. One more win than Orlando. And they have an inferior goals scored and goal difference, but they have the one more win. Orlando is in 5th at 24. Messi and friends are 6th, have a match in hand at 22 points. So with a win, they could get up to 4th. 6, 3, and 4. They have scored 24 in 13 matches. They've given up 21. And that puts them in the lower half of the Eastern Conference when it comes to goals allowed this season so far. Messi and friends are in 6th. NYC is 7th. Charlotte is in 8th. They have one win more than Chicago Fire. That's your playoff bar. Red Bulls at 18 points. Superior goal difference to New England. They both have 5 wins. DC United at 14 points. Toronto is at 13. Atlanta United is at 11. Montreal 1-9-4. They have scored 8 goals in 14 matches. They have given up 23. So 9 over 14 is what, 1.6? And they won't have Joel Waterman this weekend at the back. 7 points for Montreal there in 15th. Western Conference. Morning, Abby. Western Conference, Vancouver, match in hand, 3 points clear of Minnesota at 28 points. Minnesota's at 25. San Diego is at 24. Portland at 23. That's your home field so far. LAFC's at 22. Seattle is at 20. Colorado at 19. San Jose and Austin each with 5, 6, and 3. San Jose, the far superior goal difference. 13 ahead of Austin, currently +6 to -7. By the way, Austin in 14 matches has only scored 9 goals. By far the most anemic offense in the West, and they are 1 goal away from being the most anemic offense in all of Major League Soccer. All the money spent on DPs. Uzuni Bukhari and U.S. Open Cup hero Brandon Vasquez, and you only have 9 goals scored this season. Below the playoff bar, Houston at 16 points. Superior goal difference to FC Dallas. RSL's at 14 points at 4-8-2. Sporting is at 12 points at 3-8-3. St. Louis at 11 points at 2-7-5. 11 goals scored in 14 matches. 19 allowed. And then there's LAG. 0-10-4. 14 matches to start the season without a win. MLS record. Worst start to a season for a reigning MLS Cup champ. Once again, MLS record. 0-10-4, 12 goals scored, including the 2 that were scored in El Tráfico this past weekend. 12 goals scored in 14 matches. You've given up 33. So that's 5 over 14. So basically 2.4. You are being outscored 0.8 to 2.4. You're being outscored by basically 3 times this season so far. Basically. It's close. 2.5 to 3. 12 goals scored, 33 allowed. Minus 21 on goal difference. By far the worst in Major League Soccer. And LAG gives Greg Vanney a contract extension because of the faith that they have in him and his plan. So we'll see what continues there with LAG. Now, the news that we had that we wanted to break down with you this morning involving a couple of folks. First off, and I wanted to break it all down involving what we've seen with Leicester. And, basically what this ends up with is our news for the morning here in the final 10 minutes before we get into juice boxes and say goodbye until a little after noon when we come back for a coda for Soccer is in Session playoff edition. So it's Soccer is in Session playoff coda presented by our friends at Kaiser Permanente. Johnson, Gainesville, and Lovett will be joining us in the 12 o'clock hour. So Ben Fisher at The Guardian And sorry, Knicks, by the way. We know Leicester is getting relegated. We know who's being relegated. We know what the situation is going to be. Jamie Vardy scores his double century in his last match at home against Ipswich last Saturday. One more match for Jamie Vardy in his Leicester career. It is not anticipated that he is going to play. But Ben Fisher at The Guardian, going back to the 23-24 season in the EFL, it is Leicester is facing a potential points deduction in the championship next season. So basically, you're leaving the Premier League, and the Premier League sticks a note in your pocket and kicks you in the butt and sends you out into the front yard. Leicester face a potential points deduction in the championship next season after the Premier League charged the club with breaching profit and sustainability rules. One of 3 alleged breaches relating to the 23-24 season when Leicester won promotion to the top flight, referred to an independent commission. Updated rules stipulate a penalty can be administered at any time after an independent panel found last year that the Premier League had no jurisdiction to charge Leicester for allegedly breaching the PSR threshold in 22-23. Leicester had argued that they couldn't be punished by the Premier League because they'd been relegated when their accounting period ended. So basically, Leicester is sitting there saying, well, you can't touch us because we're not a part of you. When the rules came out and when the ruling came out, we weren't a part of you, so you don't apply. And now the Premier League has circled back and is just like, bam, onto the table. Tribunal ended the dispute over the 22-23 accounts. Leicester now faces charges relating to the following season. Leicester are also alleged to have breached the club's obligation to provide their annual accounts to the Premier League by the end of the calendar year last year and to provide, quote, full, complete, and prompt assistance, end quote, to the league in response to its inquiries. Leicester said they will engage cooperatively in this matter. EFL spokesperson says that they note the Premier League has today referred Leicester City to an independent commission for an alleged breach of PSR for the period ending last year. I'm kind of paraphrasing. It's far more official than that, but I'm paraphrasing. EFL commenced an investigation into this reporting period following the March 24 submissions, and as is permitted in accordance with EFL regulations, jurisdiction for that passed to the Premier League at the conclusion of the 23-24 season on the club's promotion. We will now await the outcome of the Premier League proceedings and until then are not able to comment any further on the matter. Huzzahs and hurrahs. News from our buddy Daniel Sperry out in Kansas City. Gotti Kinda has passed away, shockingly, at the age of 31. That's all the note that we have on that at the moment. But obviously keep all of the sporting Kansas City fans and friends that we have in your thoughts and send them all your love this morning. Gotti Kinda passing away at the age of 31. We'll keep an eye on that. Todd Bowley confirms at the Qatar Economic Forum Chelsea's plan for Andre Santos. He is not for sale this summer. Laser focused on Club World Cup. Have some players joining us like Andre Santos. Really excited about him and what he can add to the squad. Also, Yeon-min Son says he is ready to go for tomorrow's final for Spurs and what winning the club would mean. It'll be a huge moment. Keep an eye on that tomorrow. With what the Europa League final, stadium plans for Chelsea. Todd Bowley says at the same summit that they recognize a club needs a 65,000-seat stadium, recognize that's going to be important to be able to compete long-term. We'll figure it out. Bowley favors a move to an Earl's Court section of town should the site become available. So Todd Bowley saying things at the Qatar summit. QSI is also partnering with MCH Group to launch Art Basel Qatar, expanding their portfolio, and still QSI is still exploring Malaga to add to their interest. Speaking of interest, Manchester United, Atletico Madrid, 2 clubs showing an interest in Emi Martinez. A real chance that that the Villa keeper leaves this summer despite being contracted till 2029. Remember what we say about controlling the assets. Controlling assets, controlling assets, controlling assets, especially when contracts are longer than what you would originally think. So that's what you're staring at from there. Let's take a peek at Other news and juice boxes really quickly before we get out of here, before we come back for the noon hour and do a coda for Soccer is in Session. Playoff Daily Live one more time. Once again, we'll catch up with our friends at Johnson Gainesville, and we'll catch up with our friends at Lovett discussing things. Enzo Maresca, not a fan at having Real Betis getting 48 hours more to prepare for the final. And so you're going to keep an eye on that as you go. But obviously, you look at the possibility of Ange Postecoglou not surviving. I don't think he does. I don't think that he does. He could win, but I don't think that even if he wins a title that he's going to stay. It's just been a bad scene, and it will be. I want to know what Spurs do to try to figure out who's next. Jess Sharman's ears might have been burning. Matt Hughes once again over at The Guardian. You now have Rob Kuig in charge at Reading. Now that the divorce from Dai Young, 600 days by the time Kuig's £25 million purchase was completed last Wednesday. Kuig talking about the process, including the revelation he did not speak to Dai Young, only had occasional contact with former chief exec Nigel Howe. And so there's a big deep dive by Matt Hughes at The Guardian, catching up with the 75-year-old lawyer who is now the man in charge with what is going on at Reading. Never spoke to him during the takeover process. Kuig bought a club with only 6 first-team players under contract for next year. New deals offered to 11 last week to keep the bunch that finished 7th in League One, 3 points out of the playoffs. Noel Hunt, the manager, is going to stay after he replaced Ruben Sayas back in December. Obtaining value via the best free transfers. And Kuig also says that there is the EFL should be doing far more to promote the competition in the United States. Huzzah! We agree with you, sir. Absolutely true. Of course, now that it would not surprise me if Reading made a trip to the United States as a part of Rob Kuig's statement there in that article. And we know that Jessica Charman would probably move hell and high water to go see them if Reading was to come to the United States on some kind of a promotional tour. Let me span the papers really quickly, then we'll get into gossip, rumor, and innuendo, and then we'll get into juice boxes before we get out of here. 2 matches in the Premier League today. Crystal Palace and Wolves, Manchester City and Bournemouth. They were kind of busy on the weekend, so as a result, you end up flipping those matchups here before you end up with the last day of the regular season, and that is going to happen this weekend. Remember, everybody ends up playing at the same time, and so it will be that day for the Premier League where you're going to have probably, I would say probably anyway, that would be a day for Goal Rush or Multiview. For those of you that have Peacock, full disclosure, I have now started watching. I've been watching Goal Rush, and that's how I get all of my information now, is watching Goal Rush on Premier League match days. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo. What to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. Mateus Cunha set to join Manchester United after the season ends. Red Devils are expected to trigger the £62.5 million release clause. Also have held face-to-face talks with Ipswich and Liam Delap. Jeremy Frimpong completed his Liverpool medical yesterday, flew into the UK on Sunday. Villa showing interest in Shauman Kelleher, with Emi Martinez set to leave in the summer. That's from the 3-letter paper. Manchester United, Barca, and the leagues that we neither condone, endorse, nor promote, among those understood to be monitoring Martinez's situation, as we've said. Bayer Leverkusen valued Florian Wirtz at £126 million amid interest from Bayern Munich, Liverpool, after Man City withdrew their interest. Sheffield Wednesday's Danny Roll, their manager, understood to be a contender for the Southampton job, along with English manager Will Still, who recently left Lens. Marseille say they don't want to sell Mason Greenwood, but could be forced to by economic reality. Sunderland are keen on signing Montpellier's Malian defender Modibo Sanyan, whether they win promotion to the Premier League or remain in the championship. That comes from the Sunderland Echo. What to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. And once again, remember, we'll be back. And keep an eye on Steven Gerrard and Russell Martin. They are now the two contenders for the Rangers gig. San Jose and Portland, once again, Open Cup at 10:30 on CBS Sports Network. The league that we neither condone, endorse, nor promote has activity on FS2 at 2. Manchester City, Bournemouth, USA at 3 o'clock. Fox Deportes simulcasting from Saudi Arabia. NBCSports.com, Manchester City and Bournemouth at 3. Paramount Plus, New England, Chicago, San Jose, and Portland. Peacock, Crystal Palace and Wolves at 3. Peacock has the USL Super League at 7 o'clock, DC and Fort Lauderdale. That's your rundown of what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. Big thanks to everybody that was a part of In Session in hour number 1 as we stopped by Blessed Trinity, Drew Charter, and Roswell. And once again, thanks to Hayes Creech and everybody up there at Chattanooga FC for giving us the women's preview and catching up with folks up there, as we're going to try and catch up with them on a separate topic. Hopefully later this week, that'll be on your Friday. Once again, coming back around noon, maybe a little afternoon, because we're going to catch up with a couple of coaches for our COTA for Soccer is in Session on the noon side. And then, once again, quick reminder that we're going to be keeping an eye on the OCB Atlanta United 2 match on Friday, figuring out what's going on there. We will be at the Moxie on tomorrow, 7 o'clock start. The Hoff and DJE, you are going to be joining us for our first gathering at Moxie Midtown, and we're hoping to see all of you there. So for everybody here at SDH, once again, thanks for dropping by, as you always do. And once again, back at noon, a little after maybe, for high school one more time, presented by our friends at Kaiser Permanente. Thanks to CFC, thanks to all the schools, and thanks to you for being a part of it, as you always are. For everybody here at SDH, I'm just John. Thanks for dropping by. Play it safe, everybody. See you in about an hour for one more go-round of Soccer is in Session, postseason COTA here on the network. Mucha plati, I'll play it safe, and since it is the end of the show, that means I get to do this. See you in about an hour.